I suggest we do an experiment in this video. I haven't done any mountain biking for 6 months, just road cycling and a little bit of gravel. And I thought I'm going to sign up for a short, explosive cross-country race with a lot of elevation to tackle. It's a type of challenge my body isn't used to at all, and I want to see how it reacts. Plus, it's really stuck in my mind to do it with a hardtail bike, going back a bit to the roots. So, if that's alright with you, I'll install the Favero Asioma Pro MX, gather all the data, and we'll go live the adventure. I hope I don't blow up along the way. Here we go, things are starting and they're already off to a bad start because I didn't hit start on the cycle computer, so I had to mess with it in the middle of the starting sprint. But anyway, as you can see, a lot of young people, full of energy, people who are dedicated specifically to cross-country. I tried to keep up with the group by putting out as much power as possible. And from this downhill, which was easy but fast, I realized that not knowing the course was going to work very much against me in this race because, well, basically I didn't know what I was going to find. All these people knew every last inch of the circuit. Honestly, here comes a puddle, maybe a root or ditch after. Going so fast, I had no idea and just played it safe, trying to follow a local ahead of me. On this climb, I tried to follow his wheel, but I get stuck behind these two girls, Leo and Sumayot, who are also from the area. So I knew they were going to give me a good wheel to follow them, and what do you think of the course so far? Nothing technical, very fast, very fun, very playful, and nothing behind these girls. I rode comfortably until we left this really fast downhill section where there was just a little bit of sand and that's it. The truth is, with the hardtail in this section, I was having an incredible time. And little by little, we started moving on to another part of the route, which was more open and on asphalt. And this is where, fortunately, it came into play. All the work I've been doing with gravel road bikes, with bigger chain rings. And it was really easy to overtake these riders who, I guess, being younger, had a harder time putting out watts on the flat. So I told them, hey, get behind me, let's form a train and catch the group that broke away on this flat section. And that's how we went. That's how we went until we reached the first technical trail where this pretty experienced runner got right in front of me to try to avoid the bottleneck. I expected to struggle much more here with the hardtail than with the full suspension bikes because, well, basically the traction of the rear wheel is critical, especially in these kinds of situations where there's mud and the rear wheel can slip. It forced me to pay close attention to how I was placing my hip weight on the saddle and, well, in the end, little by little, I got used to it. As you can see, even dual suspension riders, I struggled on some sections with roots and so on, and with the hardtail I managed to keep myself more or less. Okay, in most of them, it's true that at some point I slipped, right? But here you can see that it's a route that, if you don't know it, is super twisty, very narrow, with very tight turns. And being the first to enter the trail. Honestly, it was a mistake because I had no one to follow and, as usual, was expecting a drop or something technical, so I braked too much. At one point, I let a rider pass so I could follow his wheel and improve the flow. It worked really well, honestly, and that way, well, as you can see, things were going much better, much better. What happened is that at a certain point, I got overwhelmed with so much management, with so many things I had to do. I'm not used to adjusting telescopic seat posts on a gravel bike, no suspensions or similar features. At a certain point, I think it was from here onward, the suspension was locked, making the bike super stiff and fully rigid. Here, I accidentally ride into a ditch because my bike was locked. After realizing it, another rider passes me, so I quickly unlock the bike and try to keep going. But from then on, things piled up and became overwhelming for me. Not being used to having to control absolutely so many things. So yeah, I tried this part of the trail where it was impossible. Escaping felt like a maze. Let's take a break and resume the race soon. But before that, I'd like to share with you why it made sense for me to go to a race where I already knew there was a very high chance things would go very badly for me. Competitively speaking, well, you know that to draw conclusions, you need good tools to gather good data. And in that sense, I'm lucky to have the Faber Asioma Pro MX, which I consider to be probably the best option on the market. The one from Faber. As the battery gets closer to the end of its lifespan, it starts having drops in data collection. was, as I said, that doesn't happen with the Fiberizioma. And beyond that, of course, the big advantage is just having a single set of pedals. Now you can cover absolutely all the bikes you have: gravel, mountain, rental, or any bike someone lends you. That's a big advantage for me. Let's look at the data. 30.5 kilometers in 2 hours, 4 minutes. I didn't hit a 15 km/h average speed with nearly 1,000 meters of elevation gain, average heart rate of 155, maximum of 179, and resting heart rate that night was 35. These last two pieces of data are very important to me, but I'll explain why they're improving in future videos. Normalized power was 245 watts average, 180, based on a functional threshold power of 304 watts, though I think mine is closer to 310. But it's been a while since I did a 5-minute or 20-minute test, so I'll stick with this. Attending a mountain bike race. It's short, explosive, where mainly the required stimulus will be anaerobic, constant changes of pace, sprinting, and maximum strength. Well, it was a mindset of saying it's not going to go well. Why? Because now, especially in the last 2 years, and especially in these last 12 months, I've been focusing much more on long distance races. In 6-hour races, a bit longer, where my peak performance shows up after the 4th hour, more or less. And this obviously involves much greater aerobic development and endurance work than what a mountain bike race like this requires. So, as expected, at the competitive level, I wasn't bad. Of course, I'm in shape. I can get into a mountain bike race, but physically, I am not adapted to that kind of stimulus. Why did it make sense to go to this race? Well, I want you to look at these graphs, especially in the upper area of Z4, Z5, Z6. In the end, I spent more than 20 minutes working above threshold at a quality level that is hardly manageable. If I'm climbing a mountain pass alone, that's it. But the fact of putting on a race number, of having people next to you, pushes you more and makes you work better in that sense. So what I was looking for here was nothing more than being able to adapt my body to anaerobic stimuli, which I can hardly achieve in a normal training session. Why? Well, for the same reason. Runners, MotoGP riders also practice motocross. Or why in the past, road cyclists used to spend their preseason doing cross-country skiing, and so on and so on. Basically, what I've been looking for here is the variability of the stimuli. Because if in the end you always do the same thing in the same way, you get a lot of specificity in what you're doing. But there are other areas of your metabolism, your body, your performance that gradually decrease or even disappear. So with a road cycling tour of about 160 kilometers coming up this week. And the following week, which is my main goal for this first part of the season, a long distance gravel race. Well, I thought to add an anaerobic stimulus a couple of weeks before. I think it's going to be really good for me. So that at some point, circumstance in those races, in those rides where there's a sudden surge, there's a regrouping of the peloton, or I have to push to be the first to enter a trail, whatever it is, to have that extra explosiveness. And here we continue with another descent, which wasn't as tight, but it did have one characteristic, which is that it was very steep. Look, 28 at the top right of the screen, 29%, 30%, 33%. Well, it keeps going up, the percentage of descent. And fortunately, here I was able to follow this guy in front, who was also a local. He knew the route well, even among all these trails. I asked if he was from here and knew the place. Nah, I was more relaxed, mainly to anticipate technical issues like this. What do you see? With the hardtails, he also had a hardtail. It was a bit harder for us, but it was really tight. There was even a moment in this area with ditches when unintentionally he put the bike into a pretty deep ditch again. I hit the GX, the rear GX derailleur, and fortunately, since it's very sturdy, look here, he goes to the left, I go to the right, and bam, I hit it, but it held up. Why take part in this race with a hardtail? Well, simply for fun, because I had the option to choose the super caliber. But I thought, the course doesn't seem overly technical. And you know that with a full suspension bike, most of the terrain feels super easy. So I thought, let's bring a bit of adrenaline and extra fun with the hardtail. This is a Trek Pro caliber with 120mm travel. The front is a modern hardtail with a very slack head angle. The short reach makes this bike very maneuverable, and it's the highest end model the brand offers. Well, in the end, it's true that, well, everything comes with a GX from Ram and a mid-range saddle. The fork isn't in a cell either. I mean, the bike is really good, but it's not comparable to what could be, for example, a top-of-the-line Trek Super Caliber. In terms of weight, this hardtail is comparable to a top-end full suspension. So there's no weight advantage in choosing it over a full suspension. And on the other hand, what I've done is add these Michelin Jet cross-country squared or cross-country 2 with a tread pattern and knob design that I really like for this situation. For mid-season, where you can find a bit of mud as well as a little loose terrain depending on how the day is. Because it has quite a bit of tread, but in the central part it's low and at the same time they're very close together. And of course the sides are wider in size, 2.35 both front and rear. Come on, come on. Grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it. Come on, come on. All we need are alligators to feel like Costa Rica. Honestly, I'm in the wettest, muddiest area. I'm even going to make a little review of how these Michelins are performing because they've pleasantly surprised me. And despite how the terrain is, the tires are mainly for dry, smooth areas, but today we face all kinds of conditions. The truth is that the performance is being, whoa, exceptional, especially, and this has surprised me, the traction of the rear wheel. It's true that at times I don't get full traction, but I think that's more my fault. For not putting my weight where it really should be on the bike because I'm not used to mountain biking. Oh, damn. Did I really think that these tires with that tread and such low knobs were going to be more limited in what they could do? Very smooth rolling, very dry. And I think they'll stay here all winter since they grip well. I got locked in. The ground is nearly perfect in a square centimeter, then you fall. Overall, the ground is good after yesterday's big storm. Impressive. The people from this Spartans Club must have worked really hard so that in 12 hours, they have everything ready. Thank you. All good? I'm waiting for someone, so the recording is cooler. Go to the king, right? If I go down by myself, it's not as cool, it's not perfect, but it's not too complicated. How's it going? Good. Hey, congratulations, huh? Looking good or what? Really cool. Really cool. The living room we had yesterday with the storm and everything, right? You can start to imagine, huh? Well, congrats, because now the really hard part is over, right? Congrats to these people for their hard work on a circuit. That's what we have here in Planey. Huh? It's amazing. The only downside is I didn't know it. No! I let go of the brake, you know? And the other conclusion I want to share with you, I'm going to do it as if I were only a gravel rider or a road cyclist. Even though my entire foundation in cycling is built on mountain biking. The thing is, I come from many years of doing a lot of cross-country races, both Olympic and marathon, especially stage races. Like the Mediterranean Epic, Blanca Race, Andalusia Titans Desert. I mean, I've done all of these. And now I'm at a point of change, taking a bit of a break from mountain biking, you know? But when I come back to it, with the preparation for gravel and the demands of gravel and road cycling, the few demands beyond the physical ones of gravel and road cycling, I realize how intense mountain biking is and how complete the overall preparation it requires. It's no longer just about the physical aspects, strength or power. Anaerobic, aerobic is the technique you need to have, is the preparation, the crashes, the ability to manage, open suspensions, lower the seat post, to have a lot of situations under control at a very high level of physical demand. Okay, both gravel and road cycling have an aerobic demand level that can't be compared at all to mountain biking. But mentally, everything you have to do in mountain biking at a heart rate of 180. It's so much that I understand why people who are new to cycling stick with gravel and don't get into mountain biking. Because the entry barrier, physical, technical, not to mention the economic one for a bike, full suspension and so on, is extremely high in mountain biking. And yet, in gravel, I'll make a comparison. Don't take it the wrong way, but gravel is a bit like the paddle tennis of cycling because the learning curve is very fast, it's very short. There really aren't many dangers, and it's very easy to feel comfortable in gravel. You don't even have the cars that you have on the road. So I really think that mountain biking isn't made for gravel riders. In fact, in some ways, mountain biking is a gravel rider breaker. I mean, I'm able to do a Traca 200, which already has a complicated route and all that within what gravel is, and quote, finish in one piece. And yet this Sunday, after 20 kilometers of mountain biking, I was wrecked. My forearms hurt, my fingers on my right hand couldn't break anymore. I had to use 2 fingers. Physically, my glutes and my head were shot. To the point of saying, another trail? No, please, I don't want to manage my body position on the bike anymore. However, in gravel riding, well, on the road, you just keep going, you keep going, you keep going. And there might be some circumstance, some movement, something, maybe a slightly more technical section, but it's nothing like mountain biking. From here, my respect and recognition for the physical, mental, and overall brain preparation that a mountain biker needs to have. I mean, it's incredible.